From Crimson Arc Media, on behalf of the people of Baha, bring to you Baha'u'llah's purpose with the covenants. Allahabad. This is Joshua Adams of the people of Baha. We're going to go over paragraph 2 of Baha'u'llah's Kitab-i-Ahd, the book of my covenant. And we're going to go over what Baha'u'llah's purpose was, how to achieve that purpose, and the transcendent nature of the human station. It's a lot of interesting stuff, and I hope you enjoy. So, without further ado, now paragraph 2 of Baha'u'llah's Kitab-i-Ahd is long, but I will read it across 2 slides. This wronged one accepted hardships, sufferings, revealed verses, and manifested clear proofs for one purpose: to extinguish the fires of hatred and hostility, so that the horizons of the hearts of humanity might be illuminated by the light of unity and attain true peace. From the radiant horizon of the divine tablet, this message now shines forth. Let everyone fix their gaze upon it. O people of the world, I counsel you to embrace that which will elevate your true station. Hold firmly to reverence for God, and cling to what is good and honorable. I tell you truthfully, the tongue was created to speak what is good. Do not defile it with harmful speech. God has forgiven what is past. From this day forward, let everyone speak as is fitting. Avoid cursing, ridicule, insults, and anything that wounds another human being. The station of the human being is exalted. Some time ago, the supreme truth flowed forth from the treasury of the most glorious pen. Today is a great and blessed day. What has always been hidden within humanity has now been revealed and continues to unfold. The station of the human being is exalted if one holds fast to truth and integrity and remains steadfast and unshakable in the cause. The true human being appears before the All-Merciful, like the heavens themselves. The sun and moon are their hearing and sight, and their radiant virtues are their stars. Their rank is the highest of ranks, and the influence of their life nurtures all creation. Let's deconstruct the divine mandate, as it was a rather large quotation. So we have 3 mechanisms for global transformation, moving from inward discipline to outward exaltation. So we have extinguishing the fires of hatred, and the goal is the illumination of hearts with the light of unity. And we do this through the purification of speech, because words have the powers to wound or heal. They're one mode of exercising power. And then, if we purify our speech, it helps unfold our true potential. Humanity possesses an exalted, historically hidden capacity. So when we're anchored in truth and integrity, human life becomes a celestial force. And in the hidden words, Baha'u'llah says that each of us were born noble. And with us being born noble, we have a promise within this covenant to continue or restore that nobility. It's a transformative process. So you see, this covenant isn't just a succession document. It's a framework for the well-being of the world. And in order for that framework to work, we have to understand God's fidelity. See, He promises never to leave humanity without guidance. He does this with revelation, maybe sometimes inspiration through dreams or other signs. But the breath of life that God provides us, it serves to shake old illusions and provides a fresh framework for moral and social transformation. And our role within this covenant is to recognize what actually is God's word, not to attribute things to God that are not from God, and align ourselves and our actions to that divine will. As Baha'u'llah says in his tablet, The Essence of All Good, the foundation of all goodness is reliance upon God and submission to his command and contentment with his will. We now have a reminder of the sacred trust, where God serves as witness over the dominion, God serves as the trustee of the kingdom, and God serves as the helper of the realm of power. Keep these in mind as we proceed. And here's another reminder of the trusteeship framework, or the domination model of power. Valhalla's purpose is to get us away from the domination power, where there's ownership, extraction, and control, where they treat people as objects, property, or resources, whose primary goal is prestige, self-preservation, or just absolute authority and power. And the mechanism is it's forced upon people through coercion. Now just imagine in various institutions that you serve, or even in your personal life, do you view others as just a resource? Or maybe as a capacity? So I wanted you to think about that for a moment. So now, after you answer that question, how do you turn that domination pattern into the trusteeship framework? So we view things as custodial care, where there's a certain set of responsibilities that must be served without necessarily additional rights. There's full accountability, and with accountability, maybe comes transparency. The view of the subject is that everyone, no matter where they fall in the system or in the hierarchy, they can be entrusted souls with dignity, and they're owed our protection. Our goal is justice, fairness, care, and fidelity to God's command, and if you exercise power in the sovereign world, to your legal justice system. And the mechanism of this is managed through consultation, stewardship, and mutual consents. You may see throughout these slides, I'll regularly remind you of this pattern. It is incredibly important, especially for the rest of this book of Baha'u'llah's Covenant. And for us to mirror God's sacred trust, we ourselves, when we are in a custodial relationship with others, especially with this covenant of Baha'u'llah, we ourselves must serve the roles of witness, trustee, and helper, whether you are the direct executor of the will or your spiritual heir as a believer, as a person of Baha. So when you witness, you want to observe reality, without necessarily having to be judgmental. You discern what truth is. You identify root causes of suffering, disunity, or other problems. And as you witness, you recognize that there are inherent rights and nobility of others. Once you have witnessed this, you start to discover maybe what responsibility you have, or maybe what someone else or a potential institution has towards what you witnessed. So this assumes stewardship, not domination. It's not for your own benefit, it's not to be seen, but it's for the welfare of whoever is vulnerable. Maybe whoever's inherent rights might be violated. You guard the purity of truth and the boundaries of the soul. Some of these boundaries of truth could be this is scripture, and that is not. You experience this, what you feel is real, even if you don't necessarily agree with what was felt. What a person feels is real. And you recognize the sacredness of the subject you are entrusted with. They were created noble. And once you have accepted this responsibility or discovered who can best serve this responsibility, you act as the helper. You take definitive action to provide support and sustenance. You intervene against harm and advocate for justice. You ensure that the trust flourishes and attains true peace. And if this is done through the work of a consultative process, where even the one whose inherent rights might have been compromised, all the better. So now, when we consider those three roles, consider the power of the tongue. It is an instrument of power. Baha'u'llah regularly says that our swords come from our mouths. So, do not defile it with harmful speech. And ask yourself, why does Baha'u'llah center these things at the very heart of the covenants? And it's because it's the most immediate exercise of power. So imagine, maybe someone who was the executor of Baha'u'llah's covenant, or maybe other position. Had that person ever harmed another with their speech, written down as a public record, perhaps in their own will and testament, something harmful, hateful? If so, they may not have honored the covenant. And that's because dehumanization begins with words. Ridicule and insults are the antithesis of trusteeship. They are tools of the domination pattern, not the trusteeship pattern. They strip away dignity and violate the inherent nobility of the human temple. And speech acts as an illumination. We protect the emotional safety of others, even if it causes difficulty within our own lives. We are illuminating. We are reflecting God's name of splendor, or maybe even God's name of glory. We create the moral ecology required for the light of unity to actually manifest in society. Baha'u'llah says, O people of Baha, associate with all the people of the world with joy and fragrance. There are no exceptions. And Baha'u'llah also says, we do not desire to rule over your kingdoms. Rather, we have come to rule over hearts. The heart is the repository of the signs of God. Every human heart is capable of this. And when we dehumanize someone, say we label them in such a way as to cause emotional anguish, isolation, such as through shunning, slander, it compromises, it causes wounds. For some, it may cause scars that may never heal. It may cause cycles of retribution. And Baha'u'llah says we are better than this. The Baha'u'llah's writings don't necessarily explicitly name this, but I like to say that our transcendent abilities as a true human brings us closer to the idea of a transcendent empathy, where we not only just place ourselves in another's shoes, but we can feel the experiences of another. We can see how someone might be reflecting one name of God better than I am, even if they're struggling with something profoundly. But all of this requires that when we witness, we do not judge. We serve as trustees, not to dominate or coerce. So this brings us to a quick summary of paragraph 2 of the Kitab-i-Ahd. This blueprints. So we see now that Baha'u'llah established the objective, extinguishing hatred, to attain world peace. To honor Baha'u'llah's covenant, you cannot hate anyone, even if they believe differently than you, or they look differently than you, or they come from a different country, ethnicity, speak a different language, political ideology. It doesn't matter. There are no exceptions. Baha'u'llah wants to extinguish hatred. To do so, it demands internal discipline over your own ego and over your own tongue. In my book, Achieving True Liberation, I go as far and say that you have to master your thoughts. If you master your thoughts, the tongue will follow. This requires a relational trusteeship with anyone. So you have a right, well, you have a responsibility to protect the dignity and rights of every soul. And many of these rights start from the very moment you are conceived. And it promises a cosmic impact. That's your life, their lives. It causes maybe a pay it forward mechanism where there's transformation towards unity. It will nurture the entirety of creation. So we do not wait for peace. We build it daily through the disciplined execution of our sacred trust. And I quote from Achieving True Liberation, an exploration of the Kitab-i-Ahd. Liberation begins within the soul, spreads through deeds, and eventually shapes communities capable of building the peace and trusteeship envisioned throughout these chapters. So, I invite you to take some time and reflect on how you use speech. Uh, you know, have you ever, said anything harmful to someone? Did it come from yourself? Did it come from somewhere else? Were you taught to feel that way by another or another institution? Um, No matter what, though, I invite you to honor Baha'u'llah's covenant. The message was for all people of the world. And, you know, purify your mind, your heart, your speech, and live as if all people were created with a noble soul and they were born with inherent rights. You know, whether you're a person of Baha or not, you have that responsibility. For after this, we're going to have, the third video. And before that, if you have any questions, comments, any insights or interpretations of your own, you're more than welcome to. Because remember, everyone's interpretation is important. Because why? Because you're a person of Baha too. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope to see you again.